What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a match from the most recent RMC locals. It's going to be between myself on the right, playing Blue Hybrid as always, and on the left we are going to be having the purple Cherubimon list that we've had on the channel before. Now, the winner of this event is going to be going to the finals after this round, so it's going to be a very anticipated match for both of us. But I don't have a rookie to start off, and my hand is actually looking a little rough, so I'm just going to start off with a Sorojo. Puts my opponent to 3, which is way more than I want to give them, but does make them have some potentially awkward turns because they can't really hard play things without Digivolving on top of them. So they're going to play the Labramon to draw one, trash one, actually getting rid of a Jack Raid, which is very interesting because that's a card that's very good unless I have the Madoki on the board, of course. And so that definitely makes me wonder what's in their hand that makes them want to get rid of the Jack Raid over something else, but I'm going to go ahead and use the Howling Memory Boost right here to strip and stun the Eismon, so that way I could potentially have a good chance at getting Sorojo memory, and if not, I at least have the Howling Memory Boost to give me some extra memory for future turns to be able to extend my plays, because as we can see right now, my hand is looking really rough. My opponent is going to play the Neo Devimon, and that doesn't help at all because I think 3 or 4 of the cards in my hand are Tamers, so I end up just playing the Beowulfmon so that way I can at least get something else on the board. Pretty much my whole hand is Tamers, and with the Neo Devi on the board, it is going to shut me down, and since my put me to 5, I would be able to play the Beowulfmon without having to really give my opponent too much resources, and then I could threaten to go into something like a Zulongmon after, but my opponent's going to swing with the Eismon. It does survive, and then they're going to play the Kari and be able to gain a memory thanks to the Lotmon and the Raising, and then playing the Schwartz, putting me up to 6 and then 8, which pops my Beowulf and puts me in a really bad position here because I need to play out these Tamers, so I end up playing the Davis. My opponent is going to gain the 3 memory, so it's essentially a 7 memory Davis, and then I end up popping the Howling to go up to 3 to play the Tommy, which is going to be a 6 memory Tommy, but that way I can at least strip the sources off the Neo Devimon, and then potentially threaten them to Digivolve on top of it, so that way they don't give me more Sorojo memory. But as of right now, we can probably expect to go ahead and see an Eismon swing in here. It does go down, which does give them the ability to potentially drop some Eismons. We saw the first card that they drew off of that was an Eismon, so they might be able to get a large board going, but they only discard 1 of the Eismons, which is very good because if they go too wide too early, it's going to be way too rough for me to come back. It's already looking to be a pretty rough spot with how aggressive they're being right now, but I can hit another Tommy and strip the Lotmon, which pretty much guarantees that no matter what, going into my next turn, I will be able to gain the Sorojo memory. I have 4 Tamers out, and I might be able to start working with it. I have the Azulong, so if I could get up into the Azulong, I might be able to make some moves and be able to just go for one big swing turn, but as of right now, my opponent has way too many Digimon on the board, and I don't have that many checks, so they're going to go and play the Cherubi, bring back the Matt, which is very annoying because now they have a memory tamer, so I can't really choke them. That's not going to be an option anymore. Something like Ice Wall, put them to 1, is no longer going to be a valid strategy, so I'm going to go ahead and play the Cherubimon here, which is going to allow me to search out a champion. And then I can use the Korikaku that I just hit to go on top of Tommy. It's going to be able to stun the Eismons. I need to slow down my opponent's aggression here, so I'm thinking about what I want to do here. I decide to end up committing the Supreme Cannon here to bounce back my opponent's rookies. This is an option that I could have not went for because I do have the Azulong in hand, so I could potentially threaten to just swing with the Korikaku to stun another one, and then try to get up into Azulong next turn. But the thing is, there's just too much aggression on the board, and if my Korikaku goes down, I don't really have a chance, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the Beowulf here. I did have to put 2 more Korikakus to the bottom, but now with the Beowulf in hand and the Azulongmon in hand, I do have a potential win strategy of being able to go into Beowulf next turn, and then the Azulong on top, and be able to swing for multiple swings, and then potentially go in with the Strabi and the Syakomon for game. So my opponent's going to go ahead and Digivolve on top of the Kari into their hybrid, and they're going to swing, and it does survive, and that's great for me because now they don't have the Jack Raid to be able to go up into a second hybrid on top of the mat to go for game, and since they don't have that, the next turn I do have the Azulong. I'll be able to strip the bottom 2 sources and gain the 3 memory with just on board, and that would give me 4 security checks, and then with the Strabi and the Syako, I'd be able to get rid of all 5 checks and go in for game. I do have to not hit things like Jack Raids or hit things like Dead or Alives in the security for that to happen, but as of right now, with how aggressive it's been, this is literally my only win condition here. So my opponent left the Korikaku, which gives me the opportunity go up into Beowulf for 1, go into a Zulong, strip the bottom 2, gain 3. So now I'm at 2, which means that I can play around 1 Jack Raid, as well as if I don't hit any Jack Raids, I can go into a hybrid. But I am going to be able to swing for security attack plus 3, stun one of their Digimon, which won't matter because I just need to win the game here. All 4 checks are going to go through. Strabi and Siako get to go in for game. So that was a set that I was very much behind, looking very rough, not sure how I'm going to win that one. But then a Zulong that I did decide to take over the Kumamon early on did decide to pay off. So that showed right there that sometimes you really have to identify what your win condition is going to be very early. And when I saw what my hand was and how aggressive my opponent was going to be, that a Zulong really was it. And so I had to just play around that. But they're going to go into the Eismons now. They're going to be able to draw and discard so many cards thanks to all these effects. And we see 1 Eismons coming out to be able to be played for free. And so that's better than 2, because if they do play 2, that's just way too much aggression. You're going to be able to go into the Kinkaku promote on top of this, be able to swing with rush and all that. And that's the problem with these purple decks versus the blue deck. It's very one-sided both ways. I feel like most games it's either blue is very far ahead and just stuns and locks them and wins, or the Eismon scatter mode effect to be able to drop the Eismons and go into the Kinkaku promotes is just way too much aggression for the blue to handle. So I'm going to go ahead and play the Tommy here. It puts my opponent at 1, strips their source, and allows me to cycle with the Cherubimon. Now this was a complete mistake on my end. I should have swung with the Cherubimon and the Bokomon and then played the Tommy, because now they can just go into the Cherubimon, bring back their mat, and pop both my Digimon. And as soon as I played the Tommy and passed turn, I thought about that, and that was just a huge mistake. So now I'm very far behind. I could have at this point had them at 3 security and had the same board state on the board, but now I just don't have that. I'm going to play out a couple Tamers, and my opponent's just going to be way too far ahead without getting those 2 extra checks in. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the aggression to go in unless I hit a Zulong once again, but my opponent's probably going to be a little bit safer about that this time. Once again, the Eismon's going down. The scatter mode's going to be able to discard a few cards and bring back another Eismon. So once again, the ability to trash these Eismons and summon them is just so strong. The discard turbo, if you will, is just something that can be very hard for the blue deck to handle, because it's not as interactive as you would think on your turn, because even if you stun their Digimon, they can just get rid of their own Digimon with Calling from the Darkness or Deathclaw, and then they will be able to just bring out the Eismons and then be able to get around the Summoning Sickness with the Ginkaku Promote Digivolve for 1 with Rush. So gonna have to go in here. I can't stun anything because they both have sources, but I can go up into the Beowulf. I was just trying to cycle here and hope that I could get something. I'm looking at my opponent's trash to see if they have any Lucamons in there to be able to play off of the Dead or Alive, and they do not, and so that will make my play a little bit better to go into the Zulong. I'll be able to play for 5, strip their memory, gain 2, put them at 3, and now I have the Zulong on board to be able to threaten next turn. But the thing is they have 2 swings to my 2 security, so if they have a hybrid, they can just go in for game. So they're thinking about if they have to play around anything. The only thing that's going to be able to stop them is Hammer Spark or Ice Wall and Security. They don't hit that, so they're just going to be able to go into a hybrid and swing for game. I would be very surprised if they didn't have it. So once again, going into game 3, the winner of this does go to the finals. So I'm going to have my opponent going first. I want to get a little bit better of a hand that I had there and potentially have them give me a decent amount of memory so that way I can develop. They did give me the 3, so I can play the Sorajo, which is a card that will be very good versus the Eismon's drops, because if they don't go into the Kinkaku promote, then they will have a sourceless Digimon, which will be able to gain me extra memory. And they swing. I do hit the Tommy, which is going to make it so that the Gabumon doesn't have any sources, and instead of Digivolving on top of it, they do go for the Mat, which is going to put me at 5 thanks to the Sorajo. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into the Kumamon, swing and stun with the Tommy effect. It does go down, but it's okay. I want this Digimon stunned so I can try to get more Sorajo memory. Play Cherubimon. I'm thinking if I want Beowulf or the Korikakumon. I decided to go with the Beowulf because I will be able to just recycle Korikakus or Kumamons with it, being able to get the effect with the Tommy, and then being able to Digivolve on top and then bring it back. Now, after a little bit of thinking here, I do decide to just pass turn because I have a couple cards in hand that I could play that would be kind of a waste in my opinion. I could play out something like a Tamer, or I could play something like Supreme Cannon to bring my opponent's Gabumon back, but I want to keep that Gabumon stunned there to potentially give me Sorajo memory, and I don't want to waste resources in my hand just to potentially make a play that feels better than passing, even though passing is probably just going to be the optimal play, so that way I can keep resources in my hand without having just to waste them for no reason. And my opponent's going to go ahead and play the Schwartz here, only going to be able to delete 1 Digimon, so they're going to take out the Cherubimon instead of the Madoki. I don't know why they chose the Cherubimon over the Madoki. I feel like the Madoki not only is a great card versus Jack Raid, but also just has the Kiaromon on top of it, so very interesting here. But you know, I will take it. I like having my Madoki on the board in this situation. So I'm going to go up into the Kumimon. The Korikaku will stun it, but it doesn't matter. I was just trying to cycle and then go up into the Beowulf. The Beowulf's going to be able to swing and then just bounce back the Korikaku back into my hand. I hit the Kari. My opponent was asking if the Kari can be tapped there. It cannot because it is the security check itself, so it hasn't technically hit the board yet. And then I end my turn with Davis. It's going to make it so I can't get choked, but I also have a Tamer on board to be able to go on top with a hybrid. We do know that the Korikaku's in my hand. I did whiff off the Davis, but it's not that big of a deal. I would have preferred to hit a rookie to put in raising, but mostly I just need to not get choked while also being able to have a hybrid target. My opponent's going to swing in, hit another Beowulf, so it's going to go down. And speaking of Beowulf, mine's still chilling on the board with a Kumamon underneath. That means that if they play level 4 or lower, I still have a hybrid in the sources to be able to bounce back and really slow them down. So something like Eismons is not going to be as scary right now. And then they're going to play out a Matt and grab the Schwartz, so that is quite the investment right there. They're going for kind of a 2-turn clear. I'm going to swing just to bring back my hybrid, and then I do go down to the Cherubimon, which isn't that big of a deal. Swing with the Madoki because I don't really need it on the board. What I need is to be able to try and go for game. Kumamon's going to be able to go in, swing the last source, and then now my opponent has no Digivolution sources while I have a Digimon on the board while also having a Digimon in the back. I was thinking about playing a Hammer Spark right there, but my opponent goes to 3 anyway, so there was no point to waste that Hammer Spark. Now I'm going to play the Madoki. This shuts down more Jack Raids. I did swing in with my Madoki, but that's because I had one in hand that I could recycle with, and now I have 2 Digimon on board, 1 in the back. I shut down their memory gain, and they have no security cards, so they're going to have to find a way to try and clear off this board while also recovering with their Lucamons. I don't know if they have any of the recovery Lucamon in the trash. I know that they do play them in the deck, but we'll have to see what they can think of to get here. I am feeling pretty confident that right here I do have game. I don't think they have anywhere near enough memory to be able to do all the things that they need to do. In fact, I pretty much know for sure that they don't have the memory that they need right here, so they're just going to go into Devolve up. This is going to allow them to cycle and see what they can hit here, but I don't think they're really going to have too much. But the great thing about the Digimon card game is that anything can really happen. There are so many combination of cards that can be played to get you in an advantage that something could happen, but this is looking in a pretty bleak spot. So my opponent's thinking here they are going to go ahead and commit attack into security. But unfortunately for them, they do hit the Hammer Spark, which is just going to pass me to 1, and then I can swing with any of my Digimon to go in for game. I think my opponent was swinging in right there to have their Digimon go down to gain a memory, but the thing is their Tamer is now technically a Digimon, so the Madoki would still stop the memory gain there, so I don't think they had anything going for them. But with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe because I'm going to be bringing you even more BT7 content. I will catch you all next time. I hope you have a fantastic day. Peace out.